Hello everyone, welcome back to a new topic today, and today's most important topic for the day was the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting. So we all know that we had the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting, but unfortunately because there was no consensus, they could not bring out a joint statement which was aimed by India very ardently. So India wanted to bring out a joint communique at the G20 Foreign Ministers meet, but they could not do that because of the differences between the West and Russia and China. However, the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting brought out a joint statement, and there was something very different that we need to observe this time. So just let's have a quick review of the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting. So Quad, also called as the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, was launched in 2007, and it is the brainchild of our late Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who wanted to create an arc of democracy. Now the Quad grouping has been in focus from the last 2-3 years, and it has a multilateral exercise apart from the diplomatic meetings, which is called as the Exercise Malabar. And this year the Exercise Malabar, which is among the Quad countries, is going to be held in Australia. So the main focus of this grouping has been the Indo-Pacific, and recently the ministers held the Foreign Ministers meeting in India. They openly criticized China's aggressive behavior, as they always do in the South China Sea, but this time it is different. The focus has been on Ukraine. So the joint statement released by the group actually called out the focus and called for peace in Ukraine, and called on Russia to end the war as soon as possible. So the first reference to Ukraine war was given in the joint statement by the Quad Foreign Ministers. It means that this grouping has so far been actually focusing on China, but now the focus is on Russia. Let me tell you that especially India hasn't been straightforward in criticizing Russia, but a joint statement means even India is also on the part of US, Australia and Japan to call for faster peace, especially with regard to the Russia-Ukraine war. And so this grouping called for lasting peace in Ukraine and underlined the aspect for territorial sovereignty and integrity. Now the meeting in New Delhi, which was among the Quad Foreign Ministers, targeted China's aggressive behavior in the Indo-Pacific region, especially with China's the South China Sea, and mostly the actions of China with regard to blocking of the terrorists in the United Nations. Terrorism was a key point in the joint statement. They now agreed to form a new working group on counter-terrorism, and they took note of terrorism, especially the new challenges that are being posed by terrorism with regard to use of new and emerging technologies like social media, unmanned aerial vehicles or drones, the internet, social media platforms for recruitment and also incitement of terrorist acts, as well as for financing, planning and preparation of terrorist activities. So social media is now being used, and it's very difficult to keep track of the terrorist activities because of these new challenges. So keeping all this in mind, now they agreed to form a new working group on counterterrorism. They spoke of the Ukraine conflict, and in the joint statement there was a particular paragraph with regard to the Ukraine conflict, and they said that the Ukraine conflict should be ended soon, respecting the sovereignty, territorial integrity of Ukraine, and called on Russia to bring in peace as soon as possible. As I told you, China's aggressive behavior was in reflection in the joint statement, and called on China to adhere to the international law, especially to the United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea. They also spoke of having closer ties with the Indo-Indian Ocean Rim Association, or IORA, which is a grouping of 23 members, which includes India and Australia, and decided to strengthen their relationship with the Indian Ocean Rim Association members. Now, a clear message that we get from the Quad Ministers meeting is that they have now started to change their focus from not only the Indo-Pacific and Chinese activities, but now addressing the world issues as well, the global issues which are of common concern to everybody. There was the first reference to Ukraine, which hasn't happened till now. So the joint statement is very different from what it always calls on the Indo-Pacific region and also China's actions as well. This means that the group is now beginning to focus on different global issues which are of common concern as well, and they have, as I told you, they've mostly been concentrating on China's aggressive behavior. So without naming Russia, the ministers sent to Kremlin a clear message calling for peace for Ukraine. And let me tell you that the next Quad Leader Summit is going to be held in Australia, and the Quad foreign ministers said that they will be closely aligning with Japan's presidency for the G7 as well as India's presidency for G20 and the United States APEC, or the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation grouping, host year in 2023. So this is another very important development. First of all, they already have a working group on maritime security. So this working group will be meeting very shortly. Now they have formed a working group on counter-terrorism, and they have broadened the scope to not only Indo-Pacific and China's aggressive behavior, but also have called for the end of Ukraine war and a lasting peace in the region. I hope this content was really helpful to you all, because Quad is a recent grouping and it has been in discussion. So China has especially been has been a vocal critic about the Quad grouping and says that it is aimed towards its actions and growth. So I hope this information was really helpful to you all, and if you did like it, please like, share, subscribe and share, and please don't forget to comment as well. I shall see you in my next post, and until then, as usual, always it's happy learning.